This video is to show you how to set up an order in Softpro Select. The first step you want to take is to create the order. There are several different ways to create an order. You can click on Create here, or you can click up here and click New Order, or you can click on this ribbon here that says New Order. We are going to click on Create. That will pop up a new order entry screen. You'll then need to select a prefix. You'll notice here that all the prefixes are the first three letters of our offices. This is very similar to the prefixes we were using for Streamline. So for this example, we're going to use Franklin, so we will pick FRN. We do not use suffixes, so you will not need to fill anything out in here. The order number will automatically pop up in here to the next available order number. This test will not be here once we go live. That just means that we're in a test database. Then you'll need to select the trust account. Our trust account will always be SunTrust, so you will click on SunTrust. Then you need to add a template. You will click on your search button here, and an order search will pop up. You need to make sure that the template item is selected here because we're going to search the templates. We'll come down here and hit search. And we have several different templates for you to choose from. The escrow officer who sent you the order should tell you which template that you need to apply to the file. You won't ever use the marketing template. That is for our marketers for their expense reports. So you won't ever use this. You're only going to use the refinance, the purchase cash, the purchase full closing, or the purchase seller side only. You might notice that we do not have a purchase for buyer side only. The reason we don't have one is because it will be the same template as the purchase full closing. So if you get an order that is a buyer side only, you will choose the purchase full closing. So for this example, we're going to go with the purchase full closing. I'm going to select OK. And there you have your new order. So again, here's our prefix, no suffix, our order number, our trust account, and our template. And we're going to click OK. And I'll take a second to create the order. That will take you to the express order entry. And if for some reason you forgot to apply a template, you can always come back later and click here on Apply Template. You will notice to the left over here that I have several different screens. I have a general, loan, title, and escrow closing. When you first log in to Softpro and you open your first order, you'll need to go to the My Screens button. And you'll see that there's several different screens to choose from. You're going to only need to see the order entry screens. So you'll select the order entry, and then you'll click here to set as my default. I'm not going to select that because I'm an escrow officer and I need to see all the screens, but you will need to just click the order entry screens and set as default. So we'll say OK, and you'll notice that that changed the screens that I can view. It didn't take those screens away from you, but these are the ones that you can view and that you need to focus on. So we'll go back to our express order entry. If it's a rush, you'll check this box here. But you'll also need to, when you send the search order over to the abstractor, you'll need to let them know that it's a rush as well. You are not going to need to put the exclude order from IRS submission. The escrow officer will handle that if they need to exclude it. And we are not auto-publishing to Softpro Live, nor do we need a Softpro Live template, so you can leave these two items blank. The transaction type will automatically default to purchase. If this is a refinance, you should have picked the refinance template, and then you could select refinance. If it's a commercial, construction, cash sale, or out of county, you can select these. It will automatically default to the type that we need, which is title and escrow. We do not use product types, so you will not need to fill this in, and it will automatically default to a simultaneous policy type. This is for related orders. You do not need to enter this information in. The escrow officer can do that if there is an order that's related to this. You will put your sales price here, and for example, today I'm going to use $250,000 for our sales price. The following screen is for the earnest money. You will put your earnest money amount here. We're going to say $2,000, and then you'll need to come over here to the retained by, and in the state of Tennessee, it is customary for the listing broker to hold the earnest money. That's not always the case, but that's the customary standard here. So we're going to, for this example, use the listing broker. But check your contract. It should say on there who is holding the money. So if it happens to be the seller or the selling agent, you can select that here. If it's someone else, if the title company is holding it, you can click Add New and add a new contact for this. But for this example, we're going to use a listing agent. Okay, then you're going to come down here to your settlement date. This is your closing date. So we're going to click on here, and we will choose a May 29th. If the 31st is a holiday here, and if I choose that, it will tell me that I'm working outside of regular business hours, which is fine. That just, I can still open the file and do whatever I need. It's just warning me that I'm closing a file on a holiday or a weekend. So put that on the 29th. You do not need to put a time for the closing. The escrow officer will do that when they've set that with the client. And you don't need to select the estimated date and time. The escrow officer will do that. We do not use a due date and time, so you do not need to put anything here. We'll go down to the property address and add that in. You will notice here that anything with a blue, that's blue and underlined is a hyperlink. So you can click on that and it will bring a drop-down menu of all the cities in Nashville, or excuse me, in Tennessee. And this particular address is in Nashville, so I'm going to type in Nashville, and that will bring me up the city of Nashville. You can do it this way, or you can just type it directly in here. F2 will delete data for you. So if I accidentally put the wrong city, I can just hit F2 and that will delete that. Then I will just type in Nashville. And then the same for your zip code. You can click on the zip code drop down. We have Georgia and Tennessee, but most of our files will be Tennessee. So you could type in Nashville, and that will pull up all the zip codes for the cities with the name of Nashville. And there is a Nashville, Georgia, so make sure you don't select that. And then you will look through here and find the zip code that matches your property address. And for this example, we're going to say 37206. And when we do that, it will automatically pull in the county for you. This is where you would put your parcel ID and your tax map ID. You can add several. If it was 2 lots or something like that, you could put that in. So we'll just put this in as an example. And then if you had more, you can add as many as you need. You do not need to add an escrow brief legal. The commitment typist will do that. So we're going to skip down here to our loan section. You will come down here and add your loan amount. So for this example, we're going to say $225,000. Then you will click in this lender box here, and you're going to press F5, and that's going to take you to a new screen, which is the lender screen. You can click on the lookup code here. That will pull up our lookup table for lenders. As you will see, we do not have a lot of lenders in here, so you will need to add the lender if it's not in here. And if you need to add a lender, you're going to click in the lookup code. And for our lookup codes, we are using the first 3 letters of the first name of the business and the first three, or excuse me, the first 5 letters of the second name. So if it was, the bank was First National, we would say FIR and then National, like that. And we want to make sure that these are all uppercase. I'm going to go in here and change these ones that are in here to uppercase. And then we will come here to the name, and you'll put First National, and you'll put the address. And suite number, if they have one. And then you would come up here and hit save, and that would put your bank in here permanently, or excuse me, your lender in here permanently. I'm not going to hit save because this isn't a real lender, and so I don't want to add that to our lookup code because I have to come in and delete it. So I'm going to close out of here and say no, I'm not going to save that. And I'll just come back in and pick Bank of America. Make sure that all of my data is correct. And you can scroll down here if you know who the loan officer is or the processor. If you can get that information off the lender order if you have it. You will click on the plus sign, and you can try the lookup code, but I'm pretty sure we don't have anyone in here. You can again add their name, the lookup code. If they're the loan officer or the processor, you would put that title here, and then you're going to put their first name and last name and any other pertinent information that you have here. I'm not going to save that. I'm just going to type somebody in. And title, I'm going to say loan officer. And since Linda is a woman, I'm going to choose female. It always defaults to the gender as male. If you don't know the gender, that's fine. Again, this will not pull over to any documents. It won't tell you to call this person a man if it's really a woman. So you're just going to pick female here. And like I said, if you don't know, just leave it as male. You can add any notes about this particular loan officer if you need to. And we'll click OK. So that has added our loan officer. And you'll notice at the bottom of each screen there is a notes screen. And you can click on that. We're going to add a note. Just make something up. Lender's note title order. You always want to make sure that the include in general order notes is selected. That way it'll push the notes to the general order notes section so everyone can see them. If you unclick this, that is going to leave this note only in this lender section. That's the only way you would ever see this note, is if you were in this lender section. So you need to make sure you always leave this as include in general order notes. We'll say OK. And you'll notice this asterisk here. This means that I have unsaved data. So I can either hit the Control S, or I can come up here and hit the Save button. So I'm going to save that. And once that's been successfully saved, you can hit the back button. And then there is a warning that popped up here. You can still save a file with a warning. You cannot save a file with an error. This particular warning, which you will probably get on every file you open, says earnest money deposit is being retained by the listing or selling agent, but commission is not being paid to that agent. It's just telling us that we have not put our commission information in yet, and that's fine. We'll do that later. So you can, if you want to pin this, you can pin this to your screen to see it at all times, or you can unpin it and it'll go away. So we're going to go back to our lender screen, and we have successfully added our lender and our loan officer, and we will hit our back button to go back to our express order entry page. We'll come back down here. So our lender is here. And then we're going to move down to the order contacts. These are the contacts that are specific to this file. The first contact we have is the abstractor. The abstractor is also known as the searcher. That's what we call it here, but the contact default is abstractor for this file. So you're going to double click abstractor. You're going to check our lookup code. I have all of our searchers here. I know that they're on a round robin, so whoever's next on your list to assign a search to, you will select whoever that is. For this example, we're going to use Bruce. So we'll highlight Bruce and double click, and that pulls in his information. You'll notice on a lot of screens this marketing rep information. You do not need to fill that in. That is for the escrow officer to fill in. So that's all the information we need for the search. So we're going, or the searcher, so we're going to hit our back button. And you notice since I put new information in, it's telling me I have not saved the file. You need to get in a habit of coming up here and saving these files as you go, because if you had a power outage or something happened, you don't want to lose all that information that you just typed. So we'll hit save here. And then gives us our error again. And then we're going to come down here and continue on. And the next contact we have is our buyer/borrower. Double click on that. We're going to leave that as an individual. It could be an organization. An organization would be a corporation, an LLC, or a trust, or a partnership. But we're going to leave this as an individual. It always defaults to male, but you can change that to female, or you can change it to joint. Joint is only for legally married couples. So we're going to say that this is a joint file, and we're going to put the husband's name in first. And we're going to give the husband a middle initial. Always put a period after the middle initial. And then we'll put his last name, Mary R. You do not need to select a vesting or an interest language. The escrow officer will do that for you. You will need to put their address in if you have their current address. If you don't, you can leave that blank. Their forwarding address will typically be the same as the property address, and we have it defaulted here to say same as property address, and it pulls that property address in. The only time that would be different is if this were an investment property, and then you can change that to none and add that information if you have it. Here is where you would put in their contact information. This will be the husband, this will be the wife. You'll put their contact information in here. I'm using BZZ because I don't want to accidentally send out any emails to anyone with the wrong email address. You do not need to fill in the driver's license information. You probably won't have that. That's something the escrow officer can put in later. If you do happen to have it, you can put it in, but I don't think you'll get that with your initial order entry. If there is a note of an AKA for the buyers, you can put that here. Again, you do not need to add anything to the marketing source. That is for the escrow officer only. If you happen to have wiring information for them, you can put that in here. I don't think you will have that at the beginning of the order. And again, you can add notes here. Okay, so we have added our borrower. If you have additional borrowers, say this was not a husband and wife, say this was a brother and sister or two partners, you can add additional buyers here. So say we have a married couple and their son. So we'll just say add another borrower buyer here, and you would enter their information here. and add any pertinent information that you have. So we'll go back to the back button here, and we're going to go ahead and get in the habit of saving our file. You do not need to add a government contact. That will be added later by the escrow officer. The next contact is the hazard insurance agent. Hazard insurance is the same thing as homeowners insurance. We typically call that homeowners insurance here, but the industry standard is hazard insurance. If you happen to have that with your order entry, you can put that in just by double clicking again. Click on the lookup code. We don't really have many in here, so again, you'd have to add that in, and then just click State Farm here. That's the one we're going to choose. Again, there's a notes section here. You can add any additional notes. And we'll hit the back button. If you add notes and make sure that it's in the general notes section, you can click here, and that will pull up all the notes that we have. Go back to our express entry here. And then we have our lender that's already in. If they're getting us, actually we'll do that in payoff. We'll move down here to the listing broker. We'll double click here. Click on your lookup code. And we have all of the real estate companies in the Middle Tennessee area already loaded in here. And we'll say, if this particular file will say Keller Williams is the real estate company. I don't want to have to scroll through all of these names, so I'm going to type in Keller, and that will pull up all the real estate companies with the name Keller in it. We're going to choose the Keller Williams Franklin office. So we will make sure that's our Franklin, Tennessee office, and we'll double click that. You'll come down here to the People section, and this is where you're going to add the listing broker. This is the company, and then you need to add the agent. So we're going to click the plus sign here, click on lookup code, and we'll just select Alexa. And again, this defaults to a male. You can change that to female and add any notes and just verify that this information is correct. We'll select OK. We'll hit our back button. Again, you'll notice I've added more information, so I need to save it. You do not need to fill anything in for this. This is for our DigiDocs. Then we will add our payoff lender if you have it. If you have a first mortgage and a second mortgage, two payoffs, you could add another payoff by clicking on the plus sign and choosing payoff lender. If you don't have that information, you don't need to enter it. The same for the pest inspector. You probably won't have that information in an initial order entry, but if you do, you can double click and add that. Then we're going to add our seller. I'm going to say he's a single male, and if you have any of this information for Social Security number, you can put that in. If you don't worry about it. Again, you do not need to enter the vesting or the interest. It will default to the property address as his current address. If that is different, you can just unclick this and put new information in. If you have a forwarding address for him, go ahead and enter that. If you don't worry about it. Again, this is his contact information, phone number, fax, cell, pager, email address, whatever information you have in here, go ahead and add that in. Again, you do not need to fill out your marketing rep information. If you have outgoing wiring instructions for the client, you can put that in here. And if you have any additional notes, you can put that here as well. So we have our seller in. We go back to our express order entry, and we're going to add our selling agent broker. Again, we will click on our lookup code, and we will pick this real estate company, and then you can add your realtor here. I know we don't have any realtors for this particular company, so you would add in the realtor's information here to save it permanently to our lookup table. I don't know any agents at this particular office, so I don't want to add any that are not correct, so I'm just going to make one up. And for title, it's going to be agent. And I'm going to leave that defaulted as male. And if I need to add any notes, I could do that here. So if it's not in the lookup code, that's fine for the agent's names. You can just add it in or just type it in here. And we're going to hit the back button. I'm going to save the file. We'll scroll back down. Then we need to pick a settlement agent. The settlement agent is going to be the office that sent you the order to set it up. So since this is a Franklin order and the Franklin office sent it to you, we will double click settlement agent, click on our lookup code, and we're going to select Franklin. We have all of our office locations in here. You won't ever need this recording fees or wire fees that has to do with the ledger. But you could pick any one of these offices, whoever sent it to you. So we're going to choose Franklin, double click that, and we'll pull that in. Again, you do not need to add any marketing information. You can add the escrow officer here in the lookup code, and this will pull up only the escrow officers in that office. So we'll say Dawn sent this to us, and Dawn is a female, so we are going to change that to female and say OK. And then we're back at our settlement agent screen. We're going to hit our back button. Go back down. You will not need to fill in anything for A2, A3, or A4. These are tied to fee ledgers that are tied to the template. So don't ever add any information in here that could mess up our template. So the last contact you're going to enter in is our underwriter. So we double click on underwriter. We will go back up here to our lookup code. We only have two underwriters. We have First American Title and we have North American Title. 9 times out of 10, you're going to choose First American Title. North American Title is only for a builder that the national branch uses for Lennar homes. So not every file for national is North American. Only if the seller is Lennar Homes, that's when you would select North American Title. So we will pick First American for this one. And that's all the information that you need to put in for your underwriter. So we will hit the back button and we're going to save it again. Okay. And that is all of our order contacts that we have at the moment. So we are done with this section. We're going to move on now to our order information. We do not use project names, so you do not need to fill this in. You don't need, the rest of this information is defaulted in, so you won't need to adjust any of this unless you needed to change the settlement date for some reason. Then you're going to assign it to an escrow officer. So we're going to hit our drop down menu. And we said earlier it was Dawn that sent this to you, so we're going to click Dawn Chase. You do not need to assign a title officer / examiner. That will be assigned by whoever types the commitment. And you are not going to need to use the status screen. I'm going to click on it, but we don't use this, so you don't need to enter any information in here. We want to go back and make sure we save our order one more time. Okay. Now you have successfully created your first order in Softpro Select. The next 2 steps are to order the search and submit this file to the workflow. For you to order the search, you need to click on Documents here on your ribbon. A list of all of our documents will come up here, and you will search here for the name of the form that you need is a search form. So we're going to type in search, and that will be under the Foundation Title and Escrow Series documents, and it's called search form. You can either double click it or you can highlight it and drag it and drop it. Once you've got it over here into your selected Ready Docs, you can click Preview. This will show you a preview of the actual document. It has the file number, the county, the borrower's names, the seller's name, and the address. You are not going to have the legal description normally when you first get the order, so you do not need to add a legal description, but if for some reason you did, you can click on this hotspot here, and that will take you to the brief legal screen, and you can add your legal description here. There is a lookup code, but we don't have anything in here for our brief legals. That's mainly for the commitment typists. So we're going to go back to our documents button here, and once we have verified all this information is correct, we're going to go up here to the distribute button, click on that. This status button here tells you that it's green because you have reviewed it. If it were yellow or red, that means that you have not reviewed your document and there's a problem with it. You can come over here and it says merge. It's defaulted to none. You could change this to all if you have several documents in here, and if you change it to the all, it will merge all of those documents into one PDF instead of having to publish 3 or 4 different PDFs. But for you, you're probably only going to have one search form per file, so just leave that as none. Then you need to click on email and publish, and we're going to hit distribute because you want to publish this to the file. That will add that to the file, and then you're going to have to email it to the searcher. So we're going to hit distribute, and it's going to ask you who you want to email it to, and since Bruce is our searcher / abstractor, we are going to make sure his name is highlighted, and we will click the to button, and we will say, okay, I am not currently hooked up to an email client because this is a test database, so it's not really going to send the email out, but under normal circumstances, when we go live, it will email out the search form. And see here, it's telling me that I don't have a default client, so, but that's fine. We will starting next week. This is telling you that we are publishing the search form to this folder, or to this file. So we're going to say OK, and that's done. And then you can exit out of your documents. And then we can go up here to the attachments to verify that the search form was sent and saved. So we can see here that it was saved. If it had not been emailed, you can highlight it and you can email it from here. But again, it won't let me email out because we're in a test file. So I'm going to go back and save my file one more time. And we're going to hit our back button to go back to our order entry here. The last step that you need to do is submit the file to the workflow. The workflow is like putting the file in the queue. So when you submit this workflow, it's going to submit your order to the queue. So we will click on submit, and then you need to select the workflow process. Now this will be based on the type of order that you have. We do have a seller side only and a buyer side only full closing and refinance. There are different tasks for the buyer side and seller side only, so you'll need to pick the appropriate workflow based on what file type you have. And since we are doing a full closing, we will do purchase full closing. You will select OK, and you need to submit this to the order setup, which is your team, and you're going to select OK. Once you've done that, it's going to have a series of checklist tasks that you need to complete. If you go back to your start page here, you can view all the tasks that need to be completed for your orders. I have several because I have a couple of test orders that I've been working on, but you might only have 3 or 4. You can click View and see all of the files here, or you can go back to your order and click on your My Orders button here. When you click on the My Orders, the only tabs you're going to see are My Orders and Data Entry. The only reason we're seeing the escrow officer is because I'm technically an escrow officer, so these are my files that I'm working on. But you will only see the My Order and the Data Entry. You will need to click on Data Entry once you've submitted it to the workflow. And we do have a lot of files in here because we've been doing a lot of test files. But you can scroll down to the bottom here, and this is the latest file that we've been working on. So I just want to make sure that that number matches the file that I'm in, and it does. And I'm going to double click on that, or you can say add to my orders and open. But since it's already open, we're just going to say add to my orders. Okay. And once we've done that, we can go to our checklist tasks, and you can see that there's 3 tasks that need to be completed for this file. The first one is the order search, and we have ordered the search, so we are going to come down here and change this from a required to a completed task. And it's going to default to me because I'm the person in the file that checked it as complete. But if somebody else on the team actually completed it, you can click here and change it to another team member. And it defaults to the due date and time that it was actually completed. And you can add any notes in here. Again, if you needed to add something for someone else on your team or for the escrow officer, you can put that here as well. Then we'll go down to set up the file in digital docs. We're going to do a separate video for the 360, and that will show you how to set up the files in DigiDocs. So for now, we're just going to say that we have completed that file. So again, we'll change that from required to completed. And again, it defaults to me because I'm in the file and I'm the one that actually clicked on completed. And then we will go to the next task, which is scan documents into digital docs. Again, we will show you that in a different call for 360. We're going to change that to a completed task. And now all of our tasks for this file have been successfully completed. So we will, again, we'll need to save our file. And once it's been saved, you now need to submit it back to the workflow. So we're going to click on Submit. And the next step is commitment. So we'll make sure that's highlighted, and we're going to click OK. And now you have successfully submitted this to the next step of the workflow, and you are finished with that file. If you have any questions about any specifics, steps that we went through, please feel free to email me or call me, Trisha@foundationtne.com. This will conclude our first video on order setup.